Hello, Tech Pros, episode 224.
But getting out there, doing an activity, get a little bit of exercise. It's interesting. It's good how much better it'll make you feel.
Welcome to the podcast where I chat with professionals who are getting the job done using technology 7 days a week. Each week, we start with Motivation Monday. Tuesday is about productivity. Wednesday, leadership. Thursday, technology. Friday, people and communication. Saturday, entrepreneurship. And Sunday, being unplugged. All right, let's get started. Hello, Tech Pros. This is Chad Bostic, and I'm excited to introduce our featured guest today, James Studdart. Happy Sunday, James.
Happy Sunday, Chad.
Are you ready to unplug and unwind?
I'm definitely going to give it a go. It's something I'm not very good at, but we'll try and get there.
Yeah, because we've got a statement here in your bio that makes us kind of question everything about what we're going to talk about today. So let's get into it. James Studdart is a full-stack .NET developer, solutions architect, and team leader based in the UK. He has experience in a wide range of markets, from tropical fish to domestic services to international freight to the holiday industry, to name a few. James does a lot of commuting and fills his time with podcasts as much as possible. When he's not working, he keeps and breeds tropical fish. James is on the committee for the British Cichlid, I forgot how we pronounce this.
Cichlid Association if you're in the UK, and Cichlid if you're in America and can't pronounce words properly.
All right, so Cichlids. So British Cichlids, that dang old UK Cichlids Association, and is the chairman of North Wales Aquarists Society. When he's not doing anything fishy, he also is an active member of the Shock Team 6 Airsoft team at Shock and Awe Airsoft in North Wales. James also has a young family, twin boys who recently turned 1. That was a while ago when this one, when your first episode went live. James was a past guest here on Hello Tech Pros, episode 107. That was a long time ago, dude, because today we are recording episode 224. So that was 117 episodes ago, man. That was too long.
Yeah, you're pumping out these podcasts so fast. I think that's the part of it.
Yeah,
it seems like it was only yesterday.
It seems like it was only a couple months ago, and it might have been only a couple of months ago, but that's the great thing about doing a daily show is the numbers add up pretty quickly. So when you're like at conferences trying to impress people, are like, yeah, I've done a 224 episodes. It's like, dude, you've only started just a few months ago. Don't act like you're all that.
Yeah, so, the boys are now 16 months old.
16 months old. Woo! Time flies. Time flies definitely. When you're having fun. So here's the unread message that I read on the last episode. I read that on episode 107, which if you haven't checked it out, it's an amazing episode on productivity. So James joined us on a Productivity Tuesday, and we got into a very, very hot topic that's actually become one of my most downloaded episodes ever, and it is why Tigger is more productive than Eeyore. So if you know the children's stories, right, between Winnie the Pooh and all his friends, and he's got one friend that's called Tigger, and he's very hyper, and one friend called Eeyore, and he's very not so hyper and has some other unique attributes about him. We won't spoil it. We won't spoil the episode, but if you want to check that out, many downloads. James, this is one of the most popular downloads. So if listeners, you haven't heard that episode yet, go to hellotechpros.com/107, or if you're on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, SoundCloud, wherever you are, just look for episode number 107. But in that bio, the last sentence I read is James Studdart doesn't know the meaning of downtime and being unplugged. So, dude, why did you volunteer to come on a Sunday being unplugged episode when you know that I want to talk about how we can get unplugged?
I think it's because, for me, being unplugged doesn't always mean downtime. Being unplugged can be away from the stresses and strains of your day job and everything else that you're doing, but it doesn't always mean that you sit back and you relax. So one of my hobbies that was mentioned was I play airsoft. Now, 2 weekends ago, I was away at an event doing that, and that was a 24-hour event. It started at 12 noon on Saturday and played through till 12 noon on Sunday and through the night. Now, I go out and do this for fun, and I was out there for 24 hours. I had about 10 minutes downtime while we got something to eat, because I was in command of one of the sections, and my other section leader for section 1 hurt his back, so I had to take out section 2 while section 1 while my section was having some downtime. So I went for the full 24 hours without any sleep, and it's definitely not relaxing, but it's definitely being unplugged.
That's incredible. First of all, that you can just you can do this for 24 hours straight. I thought you meant like it was a 24-hour event, meaning that they had like a 24-hour gathering and then bits and pieces of smaller events going on, at different pieces of time. So like we go out and we play for a half an hour, and then we come back in, and then we do another capture the flag, and it lasts an hour, then we come back in, and then over the course of 24. But you're talking about one single event that lasted 24 hours solid.
Yeah. With Airsoft, a lot of your listeners might be familiar with paintball. Mm-hmm. Paintball is that capture the flag and defend the base, very quick 20-minute, half an hour games. But with Airsoft, it's more military orientated. And when we go away to a big event, like a 24-hour MilSim, which is a military simulation, that kicks off at 12 noon normally, and then there's objectives and different things to do throughout the 24 hours. This event there was 2 teams. We were the Russians defending land that we'd taken at a previous event, so they tend to carry on with the storylines. But I have been to events where there's been 5 or 6 other teams playing against you for the same objectives, and to try and ruin your weekend, and you've got to ruin theirs. It's very intense. It's very hard work, but it's so much fun. So much fun.
That sounds amazing. So I've played paintball a handful of times over my life, and yeah, like you said, it's like 20-minute games. It's no big deal. And even laser tag is like the not painful brother or little sister of paintball, right? Where it's just you're painting each other with lasers, and that can be kind of fun as well. But those are like controlled environments, either in a small field or a small indoor arena, and yeah, it lasts about 20 minutes. And the ones that I've played on both of those have been maybe a maximum of 40 or 50 people on a field at a time. How big are these MilSim events where you're out there for 24 hours?
Some of the ones I've been to are a lot bigger than that. The one this weekend, or the previous weekend, I think was about 60 people on each team. But the bigger event that I went to earlier this year, my team alone was 100 and something people. Wow. And we were broken down into several different squads, and we had a commander who was sat at our main base, who had radio communications with all of us, so that we all had different jobs. So we'd have recon, rapid response, and you'd have some other teams that were just going out and purely getting objectives, others that were going there to disrupt the other teams and just cause havoc. So it just become very, very organized. But you don't have to be organized. The bigger event we went to, we had people quit and leave halfway through the event because they said it wasn't fair that they were playing against a real military team. But we're not. We've got some ex-service guys, we've got some current serving guys, and most of us just play on the weekend. We're just a little bit more organized than the average airsoft site.
Well, it sounds a lot like just video games, right? So the people who play first-person shooter video games, like when I get on and me and my buddies get on, we're just completely ragtag, chaotic, 40-plus-year-old old men who know nothing about really military tactics or whatever, and you're just kind of pointing and shooting and clicking and having fun. And then there are other people who are like, they play 24/7, and they have all kinds of tactics, and they know exactly where the spawn points are, and they know exactly like how to cover each other's backs and to, take the objectives on all that kind of stuff. And they take it to a whole nother level, which that if you're playing those types of people over and over and over again, it can be completely unfun because you're just getting smashed. You're just getting killed left and right and over again because your unorganized chaos cannot compete with really group tactics and simulation and people who actually know what the heck they're doing.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of it, because we do once a month we do a half-day training session, and we would go through, and our team leaders put us through basically military exercises. So how to cover open fields, how to move as a group, how to advance on enemy that are attacking you, and that sort of thing. So when these situations come up, that we could be ambushed by probably double the people that are in the squad at the time, but we can still push up on them and take them down, whereas they're not very organised. So it is a little bit like that. But and I have been there where I've played Call of Duty 8, 10, 12 hours a day and become very good. But those days are long gone, especially now with the boys.
Yeah. Welcome to parenthood. Your gaming life is over, as you knew it. So okay, so how does Airsoft work from a scoring perspective, right? Because when I get paint in my face and I can't see anything, game's over. Or when I get hit right in the man parts and I'm doubling down over, I'm like, okay, you win, it's over, I'm done, right? That's a clear indication of win. And then in the laser tag, they have the little computers that go beep 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 and keeps your score. So Airsoft is the game where you're basically got like little rubber or little plastic yellow pellets, is that right?
Yeah, they're just little 6mm ball bearings made really. It's a game of honesty. You've got to play with honest people, because if you're not playing with honest people, it just ruins it for everybody. If you hit, you've got to put your hand up and admit that. Otherwise, it just takes away from it. And it depends on the rules. So I might get hit and stick my hand up and be, I'm hit. Sometimes they play a medic rule where a member of your team can come and drag you into cover while gripping onto you, a slow count to 10 and you're back in. Or they can play medic rules where you've got to apply a bandage or have an IV drip, which could be a bottle of water that they're carrying that you've got to drink, and a lot of different things. Some of the bigger events deal with dedicated medics that run round, and they've got little bags with poker chips in. If you pull a red poker chip, you're dead, and you've got to walk however many miles back to the respawn point, or you pull a green chip and you can go back in. So dying can be detrimental, especially on a military simulation event, because it could be 2, 3, 4 miles back to the main operating base to be able to come back in.
That's an awesome quote. Dying can be detrimental. I love that. I may have to use that. Later. So we do have spawn points. So that's very interesting. I've never played in a game where, I've played both of the, paintball, and where it's just kind of like there's no real rules. You just kind of jump out there, and even if you get hit, some people don't care and they continue playing, and other people are like, okay, I'm out. But this is like a real rules thing. But again, kind of like a video game where there's a spawn point and you can go back and recover and then join the game. So it's like not like, okay, if Chad, this is the first time I'm going to play this game, and it's a 24-hour game, and I go out there and the first 10 seconds, somebody's like, oh, pop, sniper, and I'm hit. I'm like, all right, well, see you guys, I'm going home. Like I'll catch you online later. Okay, so what happens if I get shot? Then I got to walk miles and miles back to the spawn point before I can re-enter the game?
Yeah, at times. So on those big events, they normally run medic rules. So the last one we went to was that the first time you got hit, you could be mediced in by a member of your team, and you would be carrying a bandage. They would bandage you up. The second time you got hit, you would you'd have to drink an IV, which is just a little bottle of water. So you drink that, and then you were back in again. But it also depends on how you were killed, because as well as being shot with BBs, you can be blown up with pyrotechnics. And there's different types of pyrotechnics, which are a bit like fireworks. So you have thunder flashes, which are just little sticks that explode. And have we lost the internet connection?
No, I'm still here.
Oh, that's all right.
Yeah,
Sorry,
thunder flashes, pyrotechnics.
Skype's
That's amazing.
So they just have a bright flash, and you're wounded. But then there are grenades as well. So there's times grenades, there's pull grenades, impact grenades. If you're blown up by those, the rules are normally that if you're blown up by one of them, you can't stitch back together a person. So you're dead and out, and you would have to somehow get back to one of the bases, because these are generally carried out on military training bases, so there are buildings, there are objectives to take these buildings, and if your team own those buildings at the time, you can often go to those as long as they're not under attack and respawn at those points, and then you have to come in and find your team. As long as you've got communications through radios, it's not too bad, because you can radio in, find out where they are, and meet up with them. But if you don't have the radios, you could be walking around for hours.
Wow, interesting. Okay, so yeah, this is the whole thing takes it to a whole nother level than I've never considered playing, because again, the small fields that I've been on, kind of like the size of a football field or a little bigger than that. So your communication is, "Hey, James, I'm dead. I'll be back in 10 minutes," right? And you're talking about being miles and miles apart from players on a huge simulation or on a huge base, like an army base or something. So you have to have radio communication. So is that a situation where like everybody has to bring like the same specs of equipment and so forth so that you can all communicate? Or is it just regular citizen band kind of radio where everybody tunes in to channel 4 on an open circuit and you're good to go?
Yeah, we do operate I think it's VHF communications, which we need a special license to run. Some airsoft groups will just have PMR walkie-talkies, and they can use those. But we don't specify you have to have that, because there's a lot of these teams out there that become a very elitist, and they say, you have to have a certain gun, you have to have a certain radio, you've got to go and spend X amount of £1,000 or dollars on your kit. But we don't do that. We've got a base uniform, and then it's anything pretty much that you want to put with it that excuse me, that is in your price range. Because there's nothing worse than being told that you can come and join, but you're going to have to go and spend the best part of $3,000 or £3,000 on kit. A lot of people can't afford that, so we try not to be too elitist. And I'd love to be able to get in and play a lot more of it than what I do, unfortunately.
So what is like a beginner kit? So if we're going to talk about, bare bones entry level, if we're just going to get in with like maybe buy as a gift for a nephew or a son or a daughter or something like that. Okay, we want to get involved, but we don't want to go out and spend the $3,000, 3,000 pounds and take it really seriously, but just kind of give it a start and give it a try and see if we like it. What's the cost there?
If you wanted to go out and buy some camouflage, you're probably looking for. You can have a look at the DPM stuff or the MTP, which is the multi-terrain stuff that current military use. You're probably looking about I'd say $40 to get yourself a reasonable set of actual issue clothing. Mm-hmm. And the G&G do a very good combat machine. It's not the cheapest rifle out there, but it's a very good solid machine that it'll do you for a starter gun, and that's about £120. So you're probably looking at about $170, $180, something like that. So for the best part of $200, you could go out there, buy your kit, and be ready to go. But a lot of these sites, I know in the UK, do hire days, so you can actually go down there for the day. You get your BBs, you get your rifle, and everything included. You probably need eye protection as well, so a pair of ballistic glasses. Uh-huh. I think I pay £6, so like $10 for a pair of glasses, and you sort it. Then away you go. You just don't run around smiling if you've just got ballistic glasses on, because they'll shoot your teeth out.
Oh, ouch! Okay, so what's the pain level compared to like a paintball match if you get shot?
It does hurt if it gets you in a fleshy bit, but the best way to say that, to describe the pain, if you get wrapped on the knuckles with a ruler, that first sharp pain, it's like that, but then it dissipates very quickly. And in these events, you're running around with a lot of adrenaline pumping through you. The pain doesn't last very long at all. Whereas something like paintball, the size of a paintball compared to a BB, you're probably looking at probably more than about 200 or 300 times the size, and the inertia that's behind that they can be like being hit with a golf club. I've had the bruises from those to compare as well. Yeah,
the worst paintball pain I ever felt was, I think I got hit right between the knuckles on my left hand, right in between my pinky finger and my ring finger, and oh my God, it swelled up like a dadgum grapefruit, and it turned all green and orange and purple, and it was nasty. So, okay, so these airsoft, they're going to sting. Like, it's going to feel like a bite or a sting pretty good right there, but then it's going to dissipate, and then you're not going to feel it the next day or even...
You might be left with a little blotch that looks a bit like a spot, but normally you're all right. If you get hit somewhere where the skin's a bit thin, say on your eyebrow or on your forehead or something, that can bleed. And because the skin's so thin, it bleeds like a stuck pig. It's that looks a lot more gruesome than what it is.
Ouch. Have you ever sustained like a serious injury?
Not serious. I've been cut up a few times by BBs in the face. I've got a couple of scars on where it split my eyebrow. Big gouges out of brambles and thorny bushes and things. When you're diving into a bush because you don't want to be seen by the enemy patrol and stuff. But nothing major. I know a couple of guys that have had teeth shot out. And a couple of guys that have broken ankles because they weren't wearing the correct footwear. So as long as you wear ankle support boots, you're all right. It's like going hiking. If you don't wear the right kit, then you're going to get injured.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's not just the BBs, right? It's not just getting shot, but just the physical activity, especially if any of the players are like me and it's a lot of sitting around on the computer all day, every day. Like, there's a lot of muscles that that don't get worked out much, you know? And even when I'm running consistently and I'm working out my quads and my legs pretty good, just the torso and the arms and the neck and the everything that you have to do when you're crawling around on the ground, when you're belly crawling, or where you're trying to jump over a fence, or you're trying to, like you said, dive behind a bush or something. There's a lot of potential injuries that could happen right there, just kind of like stress injuries on your body.
Oh yeah, it definitely does put your body under stress. I've got a bad left knee, and it dislocates from time and again. And sometimes I'll be running along, or I'll turn, and that'll come out. And I've done it that many times, I just turn back the way that I came, and it pops back in, and I can carry on. But you find muscles that you never knew you had.
in painful ways, you find them out. So James, in just a moment, tell you what, let's hear some war stories, because most of the time on these episodes, I ask people to give us tips and give us all this kind of stuff, but I just want to hear some really, really good war stories of awesome, like, action adventure, you guys saving the universe or taking over the universe or whatever you guys are doing in just a moment. First, we'll take a quick break and thank our sponsors. This episode of Hello Tech Pros is sponsored by Minio Cloud Storage. Minio is a cloud object storage server for developers and DevOps written in Go. The Go programming language is the emerging language of choice for modern cloud infrastructure projects, and it allows Minio to be highly concurrent and lightweight. Minio is Amazon S3 compatible, built with microstorage architecture in mind, but at its heart, Minio is simple, scalable, and supported by a passionate developer and user community. In episode 89 of Hello Tech Pros, I talked with A.B. Periasamy, one of the founders of Minio, about the importance of community support and recruiting software developers who are as passionate about their product's code as artists are of their art. Check out that episode at hellotechpros.com/89 and check out Minio Cloud Storage at minio.io. That's minio.io. Are you new to podcasting? Are you looking for a fast, high-quality, yet budget-friendly podcast production team? Let TransSource Media take care of you. With a team of professional audio and video editors, writers, and graphic artists, they can help you build your podcast from planning, post-production, and platform submission. Using only cutting-edge software and studio equipment, they're here to make each and every show sound at its best. To get a free quote, please visit www.transsourcemedia.com or send them an email at marketing@transsourcemedia.com or call them at 209-505-5693. TransSource Media, transforming businesses through the power of multimedia. Okay, we're back with James Studdart. James is a full-stack.NET developer, solutions architect, team leader based in the UK, who is very big on productivity. We talked to him on a Productivity Tuesday back on episode 107. Today, we're talking about how to get unplugged by playing airsoft. Airsoft is kind of like paintball, but like grown man version of paintball, where you're out in the woods or you're out on the base for 24, potentially up to 24 hours solid. And when you get hit, your spawn point may be 4 or 5 miles away that you have to hike in and out to get to. And it sounds like a ton more like objectives and tactics and like real life military simulation, if we can get to that, if we can call it that, MilSims. So James, like we hinted about it before the break, but what's your best or your favorite story that maybe a lot of new people can relate to, right? Because I'm sure you guys got a lot of stories about specific things that other people can't understand or wouldn't get unless you were out there. But if you could share with us your favorite airsoft story, what would that be?
Yeah, I think one from the last event was very good, and it's been talking point ever since because it was just so weird. At the last event, the location on the army base where we were meant to be having the event got changed at the last minute as everyone was arriving. The MOD had double booked us, so we had to go to a different part of the base. So we didn't have any maps or anything like that, which we previously did for the area. But we were told that there was an enemy compound, and for those that haven't served, I'm not a serving or a previous serving person. You've seen on the news reports these compounds in the likes of Afghanistan that are made out of these massive sandbags. Mm-hmm. There was one of those somewhere in the land, and that was the enemy base. Now we were told no one has ever successfully taken this base ever in the history of these guys running this event. It's not been done. So we saw that as a challenge.
Nice.
So we set out during the day, spent best probably 15 hours scoping out the area in different squads, moved around, found out where it was, and sort of come up with some plans how to get in there. It was actually my squad that found where it was early on, and we got into a bit of a compromising situation. We got caught in an open area in a compound. Just outside during the day, and out of I think there was 9 people in my squad, there was 3 of us left. We managed to bug out and run for about 35 minutes through a cornfield to come out the other side, and finally make our way back and meet up with everybody else back at the FOB, the forward operating base. Now, that's not that epic, but what it led on to was the evening, which is where the fun began. Some of us had night vision, maybe 2 or 3 of us in the group. I didn't have that. I haven't got that sort of money to splash around. So there was 17 of us all told. So as soon as night comes down, we head out, and we've scoped out a way near the enemy base without being seen. And it's a good 4+ mile walk in the dark. There's no street lights. This is by moonlight. So we all head out, and it's not too bad when you're in open fields and where you can see by moonlight. But as soon as you head into any wooded areas or anything like that, it gets very difficult. So we spend a couple of hours scoping out the area, making sure that there's no enemy around, clearing out any buildings that we've already taken. And we make our way back to this cornfield, because I know through this cornfield, if we come out the other side, there's another field which we can scoot across a hedge line for probably another mile or so, which would bring us out probably 1,000 feet behind the enemy base, where we can push in from behind. And one of the weirdest feelings and situations I've ever been in, we all queued up single file at one of the lines in the cornfield, because as some of the listeners might know, is that corn is planted in lines. Mm-hmm. So if you ever get stuck in a cornfield, find a line, stick to it, and you'll come out the other side eventually.
Right.
So 17 of us in the dark, none of us can see anything. We get into one of these lines and we start walking through the corn, and it's damp and it's wet, and walking through the corn for about 25-30 minutes.
Wow.
And it felt like walking through a giant crowd of people being slapped from each side, because you can't see. And because you lost that sense, your hearing's up, so you can hear everything. And it's just rustling, and these wet arms and elbows elbowing you, and it's corn and the leaves off the corn. And we get out the other side eventually, and everybody's just a bit overwhelmed. So we take 5 minutes to get our bearings back together and head round. We spend another hour or so making our way around and up to the back of the enemy's base. And we get stuck at the back of the base. They've got floodlights, searchlights on, and they know that there's something up. They've heard a few of us. We've called in a couple of the other teams that are there to cause a distraction on the other side of the base. That happens, and we all push in. And we've got no idea what's going on over the other side of this. The compound's dark, apart from these floodlights. We don't know what's in there. We've not actually made it in yet. But we get in, we take out the enemy team, and we get out. We lose maybe 6 or 7 people during that process. And then as we're getting out, we lose a couple more. Anyway, we bug out after clearing all the enemy out and get to a safe distance and regroup. We decide, well, what are we going to do now? No one's ever taken that before, and we've just done it. We did it with 17 people. So we think, I tell you what. So I said to the squad that was left, let's go and do it again. And there was only 8 of us this time. So we went back in because we'd realised there was objectives in their base to take. So we push in with the 8 of us. And this time we're not sneaky about it. We just push straight in through the front door. And the screams and shouts from the enemy team, it was hilarious from our point of view, because they were like babies, like you just stolen their best toy. They couldn't believe that we had the audacity just to walk straight through the front door and take them all down. And it was absolutely fantastic. So not only had we got into the base that we've been told nobody could get into, we'd actually been back 20 minutes later and done it with half the people. It was just a fantastic feeling and a massive accomplishment for the weekend. And if nothing else, if we hadn't achieved anything else that weekend, that would have made it worth it. Really would. Just to prove to everyone we could do it.
So in both of those winning the objectives, we'll start with the first one. So you guys were cautious. You scoped it out. You planned. You caused a distraction on the opposite end of the camp that hopefully took the defenders and took their attention away from you guys. And then you slowly snuck in and made your attack. What was the thing that allowed you to win that objective the first time? Like, what was the key differentiator between the way that you guys played or the way you guys attacked and how everybody else had been doing it?
I think it was the uncommunicated organisation between us, because there was a large mound of grass and we at the back that we had to get over. So when the distraction went off, we pushed in, got in over the top of that mound and dropped down against the wall. And then it was a sort of, right, we're stuck, what happens now? And we split off instinctively into 3 groups and went 3 different ways to cause more chaos, throwing out smoke grenades and things like that so that the enemy didn't know which way we were coming from. And being able to move around and call out to each other where we were, what we were doing. Even though we had no idea where the other people were, you'd shout out about what you were doing. So when they came near you, they knew you were there. Mm. And because I think the enemy team had been told, once you're in this compound, you're pretty safe, no one's going to get in. Mm-hmm. They were resting on their laurels a little bit. Mm-hmm. So I managed to get through the centre of the compound and out to the other side where there was 3 machine gun nests and a lookout post, and they were all looking in other directions. So I just stood out in the open and methodically just took every person out because they were looking a different way.
Rambo style, man! You just walked in the middle of the compound like you're Rambo and just like boom.
Yeah. And on a similar theme to Rambo, you can get knife kills as well. Oh, and nice. It was in that attack that I managed to get a knife kill. There was a guy led down in long grass, and he didn't see me walk up behind him. And I carry a training knife, a bear knife. It's rubber with a flexible blade on it, so you can't do any damage with it. And you just tap him on the shoulder with knife kill. But because it's meant to be a silent kill, he can't shout out and warn anyone else that was around him. And there was a guy sat in a little cubby hole. So it would have been too easy to step around the corner and shoot him. So I threw some pyro in there. So basically he stuck with nowhere to go apart from the entrance I just thrown the firework into and blew him up. He wasn't best pleased by it.
I can imagine. Okay, so complete chaos, uncommunicated organization, and just the audacity to step right into the middle of them when their focus is taken elsewhere, and just blow the crap out of them. Okay, so what happened the second time? So the second time, I would think that those guys would be a lot more prepared, or were they just like, okay, game's over, and we're just going to sit here until time's up, or what happened the second time that allowed you to push through with a smaller force?
Yeah, I think they thought that once we'd attacked and we'd left, that was it, because this was about 2:30 in the morning, 3:00, something like that. So I think they would have thought, well, that's it. You know, they've been in and done it, so we're good now for the rest of the night. So we pushed back in, and they just weren't prepared at all. There was nobody on the front gate watching. And the few people that were still in the machine gun nest that had been revived and put back in, they were just sort of sat around talking. So as soon as we opened fire on them, it was very easy for us to push in quickly and take down the other players that were around. We managed to get in and take the mortars and things that were in there this time.
Awesome. Yeah. That sounds so cool. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think airsoft in the States, from what I've seen online, is slightly different to how we play in the UK. But that tends to be more full auto, whereas I know for our team we tend to use a lot of single shot, and the games are very, very quick in the States, from what I've seen as well. Very similar to paintball style games, whereas we tend to play longer run games. That's not saying that they don't play the paintball style games at some sites, which they do, but I know we play it slightly differently. So we're a little bit more aggressive and a little bit more tactical, whereas some teams and some sites tend to think, well, the enemy's going to come from one direction and one direction only. Whereas where you've got heads on 360, always aware that the enemy could come from any direction. So that gives us a bit of a tactical advantage as well.
Awesome. Interesting, the different styles of game, and the fully auto, just run in, gunning and shooting, and whatever happens. But either way, we're going to have our Gatorade and our water in about 20 minutes from now, as opposed to that slow game where you got to pace yourself, right? It's a marathon. You don't know when exactly you're going to get shot at. You don't know when exactly the enemy's going to pop up in front of you. So you got to be alert and aware for 24 hours potentially playing this game. So interesting, different styles between them.
Yeah, and for the first 4 hours of the weekend, we didn't see a single enemy. We saw one or two of the other squads in our group once we'd moved out, but the site was that big that we just didn't come across them straight away. But we found them later on in the day, and we worked out what their patrol paths were and things, so we could find them. It is really good, and it's a great way to get that energy out that you're not expending sat at a desk. And it's something at one point I was playing every Sunday, and that was my unplugged time. Was I would go every Sunday, I'd be out the house by 7:30, and I wouldn't be back in till 7:30, 8 o'clock that night, and I would have been out playing these games. On normal weekends, more of your attack and defend over a small area, a little bit similar to how you've played paintball. And then there was the big weekends, but the boys come along and those priorities change. Sometimes they change because you want them to, and other times they change because they've got to, and you've got to be an adult and accept your responsibilities.
That's right.
And that always makes it harder for somebody like myself who always wants to be on the go and always doing something. And if I'm sat around doing nothing, I don't feel that I'm being productive. I'm not actually getting anything done. And going to play an airsoft gets your mind off things. It takes your mind out of what I'm doing here. It's not making me any money, or it's not furthering my career goals or anything like that. It's just doing something for you to chill out and relax. Even though it's hard work, it's still relaxing. And I think they say it is a change is as good as a break.
Awesome. Sounds like a fun break to me. I'm gonna have to check it out, see if there's any here in Florida or somewhere in the Southeast where I can get to that potentially has gear that I can rent for the day and just give it a try, because it sounds like a ton of fun.
Oh yeah, definitely is. It is very good. And if you can get a few guys to go down, a few friends, because it's one of those games that girls and boys can both play. It's not men only. We do have women in our team. And so if you can talk the other half into playing as well, even better. I'm not sure what the age restrictions are over there, but I think from the age of about 12 in the UK, you can play as well. So kids can play too.
Awesome. Good stuff. Well, James, before we leave, can you share any parting words of wisdom for our Unplugged audience? The best way that we can connect with you, and then we'll say goodbye.
Yeah, sure. So we've talked a lot about airsoft, and it's one of the hobbies that I do. And that's how I find my unplugged time. Just because we talk about unplugged, it's not always about spending the time at the pool or just sitting doing nothing, because that it's not productive. And sometimes you may feel a little bit like you're not doing something that you should be doing. But getting out there, doing an activity, get a little bit of exercise. It's interesting. It's good how much better it'll make you feel. As for contacting me, you can find me on Twitter at James Studdart. I'm on LinkedIn. You can find me on Chad's Slack channel as well. Mm-hmm. If you need anything from me, want to talk, just drop me a line. And I'm always available, and I'm quite approachable, even though I run around with toy guns at a weekend.
Yeah, he won't shoot you in the face unless you're the enemy. So make your intentions known that you come as a friend. Wave that white flag of peace, and then James will talk to you.
Yeah, just maybe.
Maybe. James, thanks so much for joining me again on Hello Tech Pros. I really value this conversation. It's a new hobby that I have never tried, and it sounds like something that would be a ton of fun. So I'm going to go check it out. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, be prepared to spend some money once you get into it.
That's any hobby. I mean, photography, you spend a bunch of money. Paintball, you spend a bunch of money. Scrapbooking, like my wife does, spends a ton of money. Video games, same thing. Everything costs money. So
anything worthwhile costs you.
Absolutely. Tech Pros, if you are not unplugged, go do it. Go find something new. Find a new hobby for yourself. Whatever you've done that you love, but you haven't done in 10 years, go give it a try again with your new group of friends, or your group of friends who are just 10 years older than you used to be. And if that means that you're a millennial and you're 21 years old and you're listening to this, well, you know what? Pokemon Go is out. And we used to play Pokemon on the Nintendo DS back in the day, right? Give it a shot. You never know. You might find something that you can love doing and get unplugged from the day-to-day grind. You've been listening to James Studdart, and I'm Chad Bostic. And until next time, take care. The show notes page for this episode can be found at hellotechpros.com/224. Do you use Slack for team communication? Join the Hello Tech Pros Slack channel at hellotechpros.com/Slack. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review, subscribe to this channel, and check back tomorrow. This has been Sunday Being Unplugged, but tomorrow my featured guest and I will get fired up and ready to face the week with Motivation Monday. On Tuesday, we'll be discussing productivity, Wednesday, leadership, Thursday, technology, Friday, people and communication, Saturday, entrepreneurship, and back again on Sunday to get unplugged. And I'll talk to you tomorrow.